A group of high school girls is traveling by bus down a highway that cuts through a wooded area. On board, the students are cheerful and lively, chatting among themselves and laughing. One of them, Mitsuko, sits quietly near a window, writing in a notebook. Her friends tease her for being so absorbed in writing, telling her to put the notebook away and enjoy the view. One of the girls playfully grabs Mitsuko's notebook. In the process, her pen falls to the floor. Mitsuko bends down to pick it up. As she does, a sharp, invisible gust of wind slices through both buses stunned and frozen. She can't comprehend what has just happened. A second gust rushes toward her. She instinctively ducks just in time. The wind tears through again, just as deadly. Panicking, Mitsuko jumps off the destroyed bus and begins running down the highway. She passes the upper halves of classmates' corpses as she stumbles through the carnage. Ahead, she sees a group of 4 girls walking. She yells for them to get down and tackles one of them to the ground. The others are cut in half by the invisible wind. The girl she saves stands up, confused and scared. She asks Mitsuko what's going on, but Mitsuko can't respond. Suddenly, a group of cyclists rides by. The saved girl runs toward them, trying to warn them, but the wind comes again. It kills the cyclists and the girl. Mitsuko runs. She doesn't look back. Fear and adrenaline drive her forward through the forest and toward stream. She finds herself alone by the riverbank, where dozens of dead schoolgirls lie, their uniforms soaked in blood. It's clear the wind has already passed through here. She cleans herself off and changes into a fresh school uniform from one of the bodies. With nowhere else to go, Mitsuko continues walking down the road for hours. Eventually, she reaches the gates of a new school, an all-girls high school filled with students. It appears to be normal, peaceful. Strangely, no one there seems to be aware of the mass killing that happened early. The students act as if nothing is wrong. Some of them greet Mitsuko by name. The uniform she put on happens to match the school's uniform. A girl approaches her and calls her a friend. It's as if they all know her. Still in shock, Mitsuko doesn't ask questions. She stays quiet. A girl named Aki runs up to her and embraces her. Aki greets her warmly and says that they've been going to this school together all along. Mitsuko, confused, asks if that's true. Aki laughs, thinking it's a joke, and says, "Of course. What are you talking about?" Suddenly, the wind returns. A violent gust blows through the campus courtyard. Mitsuko panics and drops to the ground, bracing for impact. But this time, nothing happens. No one is hurt. The students laugh it off as a normal breeze. Aki helps Mitsuko to her feet and reassures her. She leads her into the building. Later, alone in the classroom, Mitsuko opens up to Aki. She tells her about the wind, the buses, and the deaths of all her classmates. She starts to hyperventilate. Oki listens to help. She takes Mitsuko to a window and opens. She places Mitsuko's hand in the wind. "See? It's just wind," she says. Mitsuko touches it, and for a moment, she calms down. The 2 girls smile awkwardly. The morning now seems like a distant dream. Aki assumes Mitsuko has amnesia, or maybe she just had a nightmare. Either way, she suggests they take the day off and skip class. They leave the classroom and meet up with their 2 friends, Sir and Teiko. Aki introduces Mitsuko to them. Sir jokes that Aki and Mitsuko look like they're in love. Aki smiles and confirms it. The girls act casually, like close friends enjoying school life. They decide to sneak out and spend the day together. As they head toward the woods, a teacher stops them and asks where they're going. They claim they aren't up to anything bad. The teacher lets them go. The girls run into the forest, laughing as they escape their obligations. The sense of freedom relaxes Mitsuko. She smiles and begins to believe that maybe this is the real world after all, not the bloody scene she left behind. They reach a riverbank and sit down to rest. Aki tells Mitsuko she's the most important person in her life. Mitsuko smiles. Mitsuko then tells the group about her dream, how the wind killed her classmates. Sir listens carefully and suggests it might have been a glimpse into a parallel universe. She explains the idea of infinite realities, where every small decision creates a different version of the world. To demonstrate, Sir throws a rock into the river. She says that in this universe, she threw the rock, but in another, she didn't. Tao argues that the theory doesn't matter, but Sir insists it does. She says even the smallest ripple can alter fate. Just then, Sir makes up a story where a giant crocodile appears and eats Teiko. The girls scream, but then realize it's just Sir's imagination. She laughs and says it was only a metaphor. Nearby, The girls find a mattress and pillows. They start a playful pillow fight, laughing and letting the feathers fly. Mitsuko notices a mysterious lesbian couple watching them from the trees. One of them wears a wedding dress. Before Mitsuko can say anything, they vanish. Sir then offers a final thought. If someone wants to escape a preordained fate, they must do something completely unexpected, something that couldn't happen in any other universe. She lifts her skirt and flashes her underwear. The others laugh. Mitsuko doesn't laugh. She takes Sir's words seriously. For her, the message sinks in. After spending time at the riverbank, the girls return to school. Everything seems normal as they walk the halls and head back to their classroom. Mitsuko sits at her desk, still reflecting on what Sir said, that to trick fate, one must act in ways that defy prediction. As the class settles in, Mitsuko notices a pillow lying on the floor beside her desk. She bends down to pick it up. At that exact moment, the teacher at the front of the room pulls out a machine gun and opens fire on the students without warning. The classroom erupts into chaos. Students scream and fall as bullets rip through the air. Mitsuko, protected by her lowered position, survives once again. Everyone else, including Aki, is killed instantly. The teacher walks down the aisle, her face expressionless, and tells Mitsuko this is punishment for skipping class. Before she can fire at Mitsuko, two girls, Sir and Teiko, rush into the room and drag her away. They flee through the hallway. As they turn a corner and enter another classroom, a second teacher appears and shoots another student. Teiko tries to fight back, but is shot in the hand, then the head. She dies protecting Mitsuko. Sir is shot soon after while trying to help her escape again. With no one left to help, Mitsuko runs down the school corridor. She passes classroom after classroom, each one erupting in gunfire. Students run in every direction. Teachers fire indiscriminately, mowing down their own students without hesitation. One girl, before being killed, tells Mitsuko that she must figure out why this is happening, that their fate is in her hands. Mitsuko runs through the school gates as more girls fall behind her. A gust of wind tears through again, slicing through the remaining survivors. Mitsuko alone survives. She keeps running until she reaches a nearby town. She pushes through a crowd of people, frantic and out of breath. No one reacts to her panic. It's as if nothing is out of place. Eventually, she enters a police station. Inside, a female officer tries to calm her down. Mitsuko doesn't speak. She can't explain what's happened. The officer looks confused and calls her Keiko. Mitsuko has no idea who that is. The officer then holds up a mirror. Mitsuko is stunned. Her reflection has changed again. She now looks like an older woman in her mid-20s. She's no longer wearing a school uniform, but is dressed formally. She doesn't recognize herself. The officer, who introduces herself as Tomoko, tells her that she's the bride in a wedding happening later that day. Tomoko seems excited. Mitsuko is speechless. She can't grasp what's happening, but she is too exhausted to resist. Tomoko drives her to the chapel. As they travel through the streets, women cheer for Keiko from the sidewalks. They treat her like a celebrity. When they arrive at the venue, bridesmaids welcome her enthusiastically. Inside the dressing room, Mitsuko is shocked to see Aki once again, now in a bridesmaid's dress. Aki greets her warmly, but quickly leans in and whispers to stay quiet and follow her lead. Mitsuko nods. Aki helps her into a white wedding gown. The other bridesmaids assist, but something feels off. As soon as the girls finish helping Keiko dress, Aki suddenly grabs a weapon and kills them all in quick succession. She turns to Mitsuko and explains that she must be ready for what comes next. Aki hands her a broken glass shard and tells her to carry it down the aisle. Mitsuko, still confused but trusting Aki, agrees. The wedding ceremony begins. Mitsuko walks down the aisle with a glass in her hands instead of flowers. The guests, all women, clap and cheer for her. Their smiles seem exaggerated, unnatural. At the altar, Mitsuko sees a tall, upright coffin instead of a groom. The coffin opens, revealing a humanoid creature with the head of a pig. The guests begin laughing and remove their clothes, acting wild. They surround Mitsuko and try to force her to kiss the creature. She resists. Then, remembering the glass shard, she stabs the pig-headed groom in the neck. The guests scream. She lashes out and kills some. Aki returns and tells her they have to run. But the two teachers from the earlier school massacre appear again, now dressed in dark, combat-style outfits. They chase Mitsuko and Aki through the chapel. A violent fight breaks out. Aki takes on both attackers, using improvised weapons to fight back. Mitsuko helps as much as she can. Eventually, they manage to disable the teachers and escape through a side door. Outside, Aki tells Mitsuko that they need to split up. She will distract the pursuers so Mitsuko can escape. Mitsuko runs again. She doesn't look back. Mitsuko runs through the streets alone, still dressed in remnants of the wedding gown. She doesn't know where she's going, only that she has to get away. The streets are unfamiliar. The people she passes don't react to her appearance or her distress. Eventually, a girl wearing a tracksuit calls out to her. She cheerfully greets Mitsuko by a different name, Izumi. Mitsuko pauses. The girl waves her over and tells her to hurry. Mitsuko glances at her reflection in a shop window and sees that her appearance has changed again. She is no longer Keiko, the bride. She is now Izumi, a teenage marathon runner. The girl brings her to the start of a major race. Crowds of students line the streets, cheering and waving signs. Mitsuko stands at the front of the pack. The other runners surround her like close friends, speaking to her as if they've known her for years. The race begins. Mitsuko runs. She doesn't know where the track leads or why she's there, but the act of running provides a strange sense of focus. The cheers, the movement, the rhythm of her footsteps, all of it begins to feel real. For a brief moment, she finds herself enjoying the experience. As the race continues, more familiar faces appear. Aki, Sir, and Teiko, all dressed in running gear, join her on the track. They smile and run beside her, offering encouragement, but it doesn't last. Suddenly, the pig-headed groom and the two teacher assassins from earlier appear behind them, shoving runners out of the way and chasing them down. Panic spreads among the crowd. The race turns into a frantic escape. The girls urge Mitsuko to keep going. They tell her that she's the only one who can escape this world, that everything depends on it. They lead her toward a side path. Aki calls out and points toward a shortcut. Mitsuko follows the path, leaving the main race behind. She sprints through woods and across rocky ground, eventually reaching the entrance of cave. Inside the cave, she finds a group of schoolgirls standing in silence. Their faces are hidden behind long hair, and they remain motionless like ghosts. One of them steps forward. She accuses Mitsuko of causing all the deaths, saying that as long as Mitsuko stays alive, the rest of them are doomed to die. Suddenly, the girl lunges at her with a weapon. Mitsuko fights back, struggling to defend herself. But just as the attacker strikes again, Aki appears and stops her. Aki kills the girl and pulls Mitsuko to safety, deeper into the cave. Inside, Aki explains the truth. All of the worlds Mitsuko has been in, the school, the wedding, the marathon, are simulations. They are fictional realities created and controlled by someone else. And Mitsuko is the main character. Aki shows Mitsuko 2 wires protruding from her own wrists. She tells her that to escape the game and reach the real world, Mitsuko must pull the wires. Doing so will cut Aki in half, effectively ending her life. But it is the only way forward. Mitsuko refuses at first. She doesn't want to kill Aki, the one person who has been with her in every world. But Aki pleads with her. She says that unless Mitsuko does this, the simulations will continue and more versions of them will keep dying. Mitsuko weeps, but with no other choice, she grabs the wires and pulls. Aki is sliced in half. A glowing portal appears in front of Mitsuko. She steps through it. She wakes up in a restaurant kitchen. The environment is dark, cold, and unfamiliar. As she walks outside, she enters a city unlike any she's seen before. It's crowded, but there are no women. The city is filled entirely with men, all of whom seem rowdy, vulgar, and obsessed with one thing, a violent video game called tag. Posters line the streets, showing the 3 playable characters, Mitsuko, Keiko, and Izumi. Screens display in-game footage of the girls being chased, attacked, and killed. The men cheer, laugh, and bet on outcomes. They talk about the girls like characters in the show. One man approaches Mitsuko. He recognizes her immediately and tells her that she's not supposed to be here. "You made it all the way," he says in disbelief. "You're from the past." Before Mitsuko can react, she faints. Mitsuko regains consciousness in a dark, cavernous space filled with strange display cases. Inside the cases are life-sized replicas of girls, dressed in school uniforms, wedding gowns, and marathon gear. Each one is frozen in a moment from the simulations she lived through. She walks through the silent corridor, passing displays of herself as Mitsuko, Keiko, and Izumi. She sees Sir, Teiko, and Aki all posed like mannequins. They don't move. They don't speak. Deeper in the chamber, Mitsuko finds an old man sitting alone, facing a television screen. He is playing tag, the same video game the men outside were watching. On the screen are the events Mitsuko has just lived through: the bus massacre, the classroom shootings, the wedding, and the marathon. The man turns toward her. Calmly, he begins to explain. Mitsuko is 150 years in the future. Long ago, when the old man was a teenager, she was a classmate at his school. He had admired her from afar. After she died, he collected DNA samples from her and her friends. He used their DNA to create clones, which he inserted into a virtual world designed for male entertainment. The game became a popular sensation among men. It allowed them to control and watch young girls suffer and die in brutal, scripted scenarios. The simulations were played over and over again, with no escape. Mitsuko is horrified, but the man isn't finished. He tells her that she has reached the final stage of the game, a stage designed specifically for him. A younger version of himself enters the room, completely naked. He walks toward a bed and lies down, inviting Mitsuko to join him. The old man says this is the last remaining part of his fantasy. He created all this suffering just to reach this moment, to be with Mitsuko, even if only through a simulation. Mitsuko stands frozen. She says nothing. She takes one step toward the bed, then another, but suddenly, she remembers Sir's words. The idea that one can trick fate by doing something completely unexpected, something impossible. In an instant, Mitsuko attacks the younger man. She punches and chokes him, yelling at both versions of the man to stop using girls like toys. She screams in rage, denouncing the entire game. As the old man stares in shock, Mitsuko grabs his cane. Without hesitation, she turns it on herself and drives it through her own body. The old man is speechless. This was never part of the game. As blood pools around her, Mitsuko's actions begin to affect the system. The simulation collapses. Suddenly, she is shown simultaneously at the beginning of all three realities, as Mitsuko on the school bus, Keiko at the wedding, and Izumi at the marathon. In each timeline, before the events can begin, she ends her life. By taking control of her death, she prevents the game from progressing. In the final scene, Mitsuko awakens alone in a snowy field. The world is quiet and empty. There is no simulation, no audience, no control. She walks across the snow, finally free.